Good morning, everyone. My name is James West, and welcome back to As You Pass By. Today, we're going to be looking into the mysteries of Cleopatra's Needle. Cleopatra's Needle is an obelisk that is located in Central Park in New York City, in Manhattan. It is right behind where the Metropolitan Museum is located. It's about 300 or 400 feet to the west of the museum, and it's up on a little knoll, a little hill, and it's been there since 1881, just shortly after the museum itself was opened. The Needle is a giant obelisk. It's one of the large obelisks from ancient Egypt. And there are two others you can find in London and Paris. They're identical. But they were originally built in 1500 BC. And they were built by the Emperor Thutmose VII. And they were in a town near Cairo called Heliopolis in Egypt. I realize we're very far away from New York City and New York history, but it does connect. There is a connection, an unusual one. The obelisk itself was buried in the sand in the Sahara Desert for a very long time until they were uncovered by Cleopatra and moved by her to Alexandria, which is where they stood for another 2,000 years until they were brought to the United States in 1870. Well, the journey to the United States started in 1970. It took a long time for it to get here. And we're going to take a look at some of the steps and some of the strange phenomena along the way of Cleopatra's Needle, something that I doubt anyone knows. And I didn't know. I've lived in New York City my entire life. I didn't know this. So it's very likely that you didn't know it either. And it's quite fascinating. So let's begin our journey, and we'll see you on the spot at these locations. Take care. We are down here this morning at St. Mark's in the Bowery, which is on Stuyvesant Street. Diagonal street that does not conform to the current grid line of the city. But here's one of the churchyards. It's quite bucolic, and sometimes it's a little more bucolic. I would say probably the best time to be here is in the spring. But the church itself is very old, quite beautiful. It was built in 1799, although prior to that it replaced a chapel that was built by Peter Stuyvesant on this spot in 1660. That's a long time ago. And he owned this land. Most of everything you can see around me was owned by Peter Stuyvesant. This was his farm. And we're going to delve into that in great detail in a later installment. So this installment is called The Mystery of Cleopatra's Needle, which you probably know, you may not know, but is located in Central Park. And we're going to be going to 4 different locations, and this is the first one. So how does this have anything to do with Cleopatra's Needle, since we're on 2nd Avenue and 11th, between 11th and 10th Street. Over there is 10th Street. And we're here in this beautiful, somewhat eerie cemetery, which is filled with the dead bodies of Christmas trees over there. Anyway, don't get me started on that subject. But the mystery of the Cleopatra's Needle starts right here. And it is a vault that is dated 1827. The vault, I think, was probably built in 1823. I'm not sure whether there were two vaults, but anyway, you can see it says Thomas Addis Emmet. And who was he? He was a Irish revolutionary who was banished from Ireland when it was a British colony still, and he was banished from Ireland. He came to the United States. This is where his body is buried, although there are two other memorials or gravestones. So there's one in Dublin, and there's one in St. Paul's Chapel, which is where we're going next. That's part 2 of the installment, and it's a fascinating story. So you will find out what indeed is the mystery of Cleopatra's Needle when we continue. The next step of this program takes us down to the churchyard of St. Paul's Chapel, which is on Broadway, which you can see over here. Broadway and Fulton Street, which is right there. You can see the sign. And why are we here? So we're looking at this obelisk over here that is the obelisk of, and I'm not saying grave, of Thomas Addis Emmet. Yes, the same one whose little slab we visited the last visit. The major difference here is that this is, much more impressive and monumental, since it is a monument. But the other thing that's unusual about it is that there's nobody buried here. There's a crypt or a vault, but there's nobody in it. So his body is actually buried where we saw this tiny slab the last time. And you can see some other symbolism here. There's a bas-relief of the man himself, and then some more Masonic symbolism. Unfortunately, I can't get too close to it because everything is walled off, but it's a very pretty and scenic churchyard down in the middle of the financial district, well, at the sort of north end of it. And this part I can't see, but some of the monument has been inscribed in Gaelic, English, Gaelic, and Latin, I think. But, like I said, if you find something that's really incorrect, tell me and I'll try and fix it. I'm just looking over here for the inscriptions. And do I dare take a trip over to the other side to see what's there? Someone's probably going to yell at me, but I don't know who. So we can see between the bars here of the gate that there's another smaller monument that does have Gaelic writing on it. It's very hard to read, and I can't get close to it. And I was informed that I will get yelled at if I get close to it. Or, I'll get in trouble, and I'll make somebody else get in trouble too. And there's very faint writing on the north side of the obelisk. I'm sorry, the east side of the obelisk, which is almost completely weathered, and it's quite long. It starts at the base of the top bas-relief and ends at the, just above the bottom one with the eagle and the hands shaking mysteriously. And also, just for juxtaposition, you can see the World Trade Center kind of nicely setting off these other two monuments here. So that, I don't think that was intentional, but who knows, it might have been. And here's the third angle, looking from the south up. There's no writing on this side of the monument, but you can get a nice view of it. And I don't want to step on anybody as I walk backwards, but you can see the whole church and the World Trade Center there on the far left. Thanks everyone for coming and listening to another installment of As You Pass By. I'm your host, James West, and don't forget, when you're finished, like and subscribe. And we'll have another installment coming up in a few days. Thanks a lot.